Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Tomi Adenuga and I share everything about my lifestyle in Canada. I'm almost a year in Canada. I moved to Canada about a year ago with my family. So there's a question I get frequently. I addressed something like this in a previous video. People ask like, okay, which province is it good to go to? Which province is the best? And I gave my 2 cents. I shared everything I know. Please watch out for that video if you've not seen the video. For this particular one, for those that are planning to come to Ontario, another question that people ask is, which is like a good place to settle in with children where the cost of living is not so high? Because of course you know this already, it's just like where you're coming from back home. Let me use Lagos as an example. I used to live in Lagos, Nigeria, and I know a lot of people are familiar with Lagos, Nigeria. Of course, in Lagos, you know that the expensive places to live in might be, I'm not even going to say Lekki, on the island. Let's say Victoria Island, let's say Oniru, let's say Ikoyi. Those places are like commercial and also residential. If you live in Victoria Island, I'm sure you've been paying or you were paying a lot of money living in Victoria Island. So it's almost the same thing here in Canada. I believe many places in London, it's also like that. If you stay in central London, you'll be paying a lot more for someone that stays in central London compared to someone that stays on the outskirts, for someone that stays in Dagenham East or something like that. So it's the same thing over here. It's the same thing in the US. If you stay in New York, you'll be paying a lot more in New York, Manhattan, than someone that stays in New Jersey or someone that even stays in like a Texas. Do you understand? So it's the same thing for Canada as well and for Ontario. If you're coming into Ontario and you decide to live in Toronto, you'll be paid a lot of money. The cost of living is high in Ontario, is high, or let me just say Toronto is like where it is really, really high, and the surrounding areas. So they are like the surrounding areas. I don't know so much about it yet, but I know most of these places. I know Vaughan is close to Toronto, Markham, Mississauga, Milton, Oakville. They count those places as like the greater Toronto area. So it's not Toronto, but because it's like surrounding Toronto, it's close to, it's just like you said, okay, I don't want to live in Victoria Island, I don't want to live in Ikoyi, but I want to live in Lekki. You'll be paying quite something. Or Bagada is also like one of the closest places to the island. That's for those that stay in Lagos and they understand what I'm talking about. So you'll be paying something reasonable. It's different from when you live in Festac. Not to say that they are not high placed or prices in those other areas. I'm sure you understand. So it's just like saying you live in Festa, but your house might be worth like millions. It's just like saying you stay in Magodo. Magodo is not close, but it's still worth it. So it's the same thing over here as well. There are still some places that are not even close to Toronto, but they are still highly priced. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's the same thing. How it's the way it works in other places is the same way it works here. But on the flip side, there are still some other places that are very family friendly. They are good neighborhoods and you might not be paying as much. So you're just in the middle. You're not like so far off, and at the same time you're not paying so much. So I get this question many times and people want to know, okay, where should I like settle in with my family? I don't know so much yet. I have not been around Ontario because Ontario is huge. Where I even currently live in Ontario is big, very, very big and huge. But from what people tell me, from what people say, let me be giving you what I have heard firsthand from people. The first place I might tell you to consider, even though it's becoming expensive as well, but people like it because it's also close to the Greater Toronto area. They are now calling it the GTAH. So Greater Toronto Area and Hamilton. I currently live in Hamilton. Hamilton is also like in the middle. There are some highly priced places and there are some places that are not so highly priced as well. So it depends on you. It also depends on where you want to live in Hamilton. Hamilton alone is like the whole of Lagos. As far as I'm concerned, it is big. It's very, very big. So these places, Hamilton is becoming like quite like it's somewhere that people are gravitating towards. It's becoming highly priced, like I said. But on the other hand, I still see houses that people advertise that is still fair. The neighborhood in Hamilton, you have to be careful. There are some places that are, well, not so quiet. Do you understand what I mean? On the other hand, you have to just do your research with your realtor to find out the place that is a great neighborhood for your children to live in and to go to school. Another place that you can consider is Kitchener. I know most people gravitate towards Kitchener as well. Very family friendly place, great to raise your children in, good schools. On the average, there are good schools in all of these places. Another place is London, Ontario. I hear there are a lot of Nigerians that are in London, Ontario. Not London, UK, London, Ontario. So there's a London, Ontario, very great neighborhood. Prices of houses are still very fair. New houses are springing, they're building houses. I hear that if you have $600,000, $700,000, you can get a good house, a 3-bed house in this kind of place. Another place you can consider is Paris, Ontario. So not Paris, France, Paris, Ontario. So great place as well, great neighborhood, not so close to the GTA area. Depends, at the end of the day, it's just like as if you're driving around. So it's not as if you're driving 4 hours, though sometimes you're actually driving 4 hours, sure. But yeah, this place is not so bad, it's not so far off. At the end of the day, people say that where is really far in Canada. It depends on where you work. So that's another thing you should consider, where you work. I think that is the primary thing, where you work, if you're married, where you and your wife work, or where you and your husband work. So those are the things you should be considering. But apart from that, most times you'll find like cool places where your children can like live in, have friends, where you have community as well. I'm also saying this based on people or people's opinion about where you can have a great community. So I've mentioned Kitchener, I've mentioned London, I've mentioned Paris. Another great place is Ottawa. That's the seat of the government in Ontario. So it's not Toronto, it's actually Ottawa. Ottawa. I'm sure many of us know this already. People like it because it is quiet. It's not as like, it's not hustling. It's not like that typical Lagos feel. Very quiet, very good place to raise your children. Cost of living is very good. Like you can buy a mansion in Ottawa and it's not going to like stretch you so far, unlike Toronto and the surrounding areas. Ottawa is also very good. Similar to Ottawa is Oshawa. So Oshawa has a little bit below rating, but it's not bad, trust me. At the end of the day, what we call like below rating is still a lot better than what it might actually be. So Oshawa is another great place that you can consider if you're planning to come to Ontario. So that's another place that I know people see that, okay, houses there, goodness. I know someone that was contemplating going there, like the 4-bed she saw there. It's not, so people say that Ontario is expensive, but the reality is that there are so many places in Ontario that you'll be surprised that, am I still in Ontario? Am I really still in Ontario? Oshawa is one place like that. Cost of living is like low. Cost of like getting a house there is very low. What you're probably paying for a 4-bed in Toronto area is going to be like half, or even not more than like a little below half in Oshawa. So that's another place that you can consider. Some other places are like Sudbury, but that is like you moving inside. But like people will say that no place is really like far, because at the end of the day, it depends on where you find a job. So because I believe you should be close to your job as much as possible, except your job is remote. So if your job is remote, then you can pretty much stay anywhere. Another place that is very fantastic, close to Kitchener, is Guelph. Guelph, Guelph. Guelph, and that is also a very great place for you to raise children. Cost of living is low and you have a good neighborhood. You have people around there, you'll find your community around there. I'm coming to the Niagara region, St. Catharines, Fort Erie, those places too. Though the prices of housing is going high over there, but it's not as much as what you'll be paying in Toronto or the greater Toronto area. So there's St. Catharines, which is like close to Niagara region. People actually stay in Niagara, so it's, though like I said, cost of housing is also rising there, cost of living is also rising, because the more people move from the greater Toronto area, these other places start receiving, and when there's a lot of demand, supply will also go up. So yeah, it's also going up there, but it's still better than what you will find typically in Toronto and those other places. So Fort Erie, Niagara place, St. Catharines are good places. Then another place that you can consider is the Cambridge Waterloo area. They call it CWA or something. Or was it? What, I can't even remember right now, but Cambridge Waterloo area too is somewhere or places that cost of living is not so high. It's not like the city area and all that, but at least it's a good place for you to start off as a family, especially when you have family. You just want a quiet place. You don't want, like, you want to be away from the city life. So I know most people say that, okay, the another reason why they like Alberta is because they want to be away from the Lagos typical kind of like lifestyle, but there are many places in Ontario that give you the same vibe, which the cost of living is not so bad and all that, but you might still get the benefits of Ontario. Ontario has its benefits, definitely. You can still get all the benefits that you can get in Ontario. So quick one before I end this video, I have a lot of people that come and they ask me, oh, what do I do in cases like this? I'm just coming into the country. If you want to, you can reach out to me via Instagram or via my email. You can send me an email at iamtomiadenuga@gmail.com, especially if you're a permanent resident and you're coming in with family. There are a lot of benefits that you can like take advantage of. Let me not use the word take advantage of, that you can leverage on as a permanent resident if you're coming into the country, if you're coming into Ontario especially. Don't worry, I was as scared as you. In fact, I think I was more scared. Trust me, if you are very scared, I was more scared than you. But I am thankful for everything today. I am grateful to God for every single thing. And just reach out to me via Instagram. My Instagram is at the Tomi Adenuga. So you can just reach out via Instagram, or you can send me an email and I'll be glad to like set you off as much as I can. So these are some of the places you can consider if you're coming into Ontario, if you're a permanent resident, of course. Because for students, definitely you might need to stay close to where your school is. Another place I forgot to mention is Brantford. So that's another, there are places in Ontario you can like take advantage of, like, and settle in, which is very fantastic for children, family friendly, good neighborhoods, so many of them, and more at your disposal. Until next time, I'll see you in my subsequent videos. Bye.